Well, today's video is sponsored by Surfshark. Now, Surfshark is an award-winning VPN that I've been talking about in some of my other videos. I absolutely love them because it's a browser add-on. It's also an app that basically lets you access the internet from wherever you want in the world. So let's say that my favorite Drag Race episodes are not on the Netflix in the US. Well, what if they're on Netflix in the UK? I can set my browser to be wherever I want it to be in the world, so like the UK for example, and then I can watch those episodes of Drag Race that I might not be able to see on my streaming service in my country. It's absolutely great too because my other favorite part about it is that it is very, very secure. So it keeps all of your photos, your videos, your private passwords and all that stuff safe and secure. It also ends up preventing all those pesky malware pop-ups or any of those ads from coming up when you're trying to watch your episode because that is totally obnoxious. So you need to head over to surfshark.deal/Joseph for 83% off and 3 extra months for free by entering promo code Joseph. Once again, that's surfshark.deal/Joseph, promo code Joseph, and you can get 83% off plus 3 extra months for free. They also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you're not happy, you can just let them know. You get your money back. Thank you guys so much to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Check out the link below, click that, enter Joseph, and you'll be good to go. Well, she was introduced to many of us on season 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race, where she showed us Madonna's favorite holiday is not Christmas. She shows off her thotty body on her Instagram, and she is here to spill the tea. It's Venus D-Lite, and she's about to be exposed.
Hi.
How is it going?
I spent literally this last decade being the Elizabeth Taylor of drag queens, just husbands and scandals. So, rush you what we all came here for, the makeup, the Madonna, and the drama.
Yes. Oh, wow. Okay, so Venus, you're no longer Venus, you're now Maluma, is that correct?
Maluma, baby.
Oh, all right.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, it's like literally the best of both worlds. You look great, by the way. How's life been?
Life's good. You know, I threw away the bandana from season 3 because, you know, that was just, you know, a fashion statement for the moment. I cut my hair, I grew out my eyebrows, and that was a look back then. And I mean, life has taken me in so many directions, but now I'm actually in sunny Tampa, Florida. So I like to call it the armpit of Florida because, you know, it's on that little like part of the, you know, part where there's a panhandle and there's like the rest of the arm. So I'm like right there, just, yeah, on the Gulf of Mexico. So I'm here in Tampa, Florida.
So you're in Florida now, but you were born and raised in where? California?
In California, Los Angeles.
What were you like as a child?
I was gay as fuck.
Really?
I was. I'll tell you how gay as fuck I was. So, for my 5th birthday, I had this really cool, magical birthday party, and my my adopted father's dad, he actually, as a joke, wrapped up a pink Barbie convertible and gave it to me as a gift. And I didn't know it was a joke. I was too young, and so, but I opened it and I flipped out and just was like, so overjoyed and just like so happy. I literally grabbed the box and I was like running around screaming to everybody, oh my God, and I never saw it after that day, unfortunately. So,
stop it! They took it away from you.
They took it away. Yeah, it was supposed to be meant as the joke, but the joke fucked him over. So you know, and also you know, back then, you know, I tended to hang more around with the girls than the boys. And, you know, one Christmas, all I ever wanted was Mall Madness. I was 8. You know what they gave me?
Exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
You know what they gave me?
What did they give you?
Operation.
No.
I was a shopaholic. That wasn't me. That's not me. I was Orange Julius's shopping sprees. I like I said, I was a very gay child, and then all of a sudden Madonna comes around, and Madonna comes around when I'm 15 because I was looking through my mom's CD case and I come across Madonna's first album on CD. And I was actually trying to look for a Madonna song from the 80s that I remembered, but I couldn't find. So I played the album and went through every song trying to find it. And we didn't have YouTube or Google. We could just be like, hey, this blah, blah, blah song that sounds like, and Google says, that song has dressed you up from. No, we actually had to we had to go to fucking Music Plus, the warehouse, and put the CD on and listen to it. So, but it didn't have the song I was looking for, but it just changed my whole life. And I just, Madonna basically helped me come out, and I was 14, 15 years old. And this is also when it was a late 90s, techno, rave, underground scene. There was so many underground fads that were going on. And it was really, and also being bi was in. So I just, I knew as a child there was something special about me, when I would go into 7-Elevens and pick up the Playgirl, not the Playboy magazine when nobody was looking, and be like, whoa, damn, is that what it looks like when you all grown up?
I did the same thing. You had to find those. It was always in the magazine aisle or always in the underwear aisle. It was one or the other, just looking at the packages. That was you had to get it.
Oh my God. But how about the Barnes and Noble section?
Yes.
Yes,
because it had all the different countries of magazines.
Yeah. Yes. And so you went to go look at the Playgirls, or you pretended you were a nerd and you were going to study. And you would go to the Barnes and Noble, and you would go to the erotic section where they had a gay Kama Sutra, gay history and all this stuff. And yeah, that was me growing up. So I would say, gay as fuck, definitely very pink, very highly sexual, fashionable, and I had a thing for Mall Madness. So that was childhood growing up, and Madonna, and definitely Madonna.
Well, when did the Madonna turn from you trying to find this one song to her helping you eventually come out in that process, and then using that as, drag? How did that end up going from one to the other?
Okay, well, as a child, young adult, I was called ugly. No lies. No lies. I was bullied. I was called ugly by the young cheerleading squad. They used to say my eyes look like dirt. Yeah, and I have beautiful hazel eyes. Yeah, I was really crazy, and and not only was I was being called the ugly one, I was being called the different one, or the flamer, or the queer one. So those are just two labels at that age you don't want to be labeled as. And so when I was 14 and starting to develop, I actually went through this cholo phase to try to butch up a little bit and try to man up. I don't know. It's kind of taking a similar direction now, where I'm pushing up and everything, because I'm being bullied now here and there. So
wait, you're bullied now for what?
We'll get to that. So, but then I try to butch it up, and then I found Madonna, and Madonna just gave me this impression that you can be yourself, you could be different, you could be queer, you could be sexual, and you don't have to be ashamed about it. You can actually change the world and also be yourself and be an artist. So that's really what excited me about her. And it's not necessarily I wanted to look like her. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be her as an artist, just very outspoken and about gay rights and about awareness and about being yourself and not being ashamed about it, and being when you're when if you're not outspoken, shit stays the same. Had World of Wonder and RuPaul not taken a risk 10,000 years ago, we wouldn't be here, me and you, talking about drag what it's, how it's changed the world, or, even like be talking about my career in life.
Yeah. And when was the first time that you performed in drag? Not like Halloween or a showcase or something, but like when was the first time that you actually like were on a stage? Do you remember that?
I do. Grab your popcorn. Grab your popcorn. Because, okay, this was August 5th, 2002. By the way, my 19th anniversary is right around the corner because this is July 20 something. And but it was August 5th, 2002, and and I had performed as Marilyn Monroe because it was the 40th anniversary of her death. Here's a funny fact. Guess who was doing Spotlight that night?
Was it Madonna?
No, it was RuPaul.
Okay.
RuPaul was there. She was doing Spotlight because here and there she's talked about. She liked to go and sit in the DJ booth and offer to help put the spotlight on the girls. So she was there. Delta Work was working with me that night in the cast. Also Raja. So, it was kind of a crazy omen about things to come. And this is my first drag performance, and, the most, the last most famous, drag queen was doing my Spotlight. And, from what I had heard, like she gagged over my Maryland. She loved my look. And yeah, that's a huge part of my history was, yeah, RuPaul did my Spotlight, and my first show was with Delta and Raja. And I performed as Marilyn Monroe on her 40th anniversary of her death.
That is insane that your first drag performance was in the presence of RuPaul before any of the other stuff came down the pipeline.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So then when did you decide on a name? When did you decide on all of that? Was that after that? Did you get like a bug to keep doing this, or like what was it?
Well, actually, my original drag name, I don't think I've said this ever in public, was actually Harlow.
Harlow.
And it was referring to Jean Harlow, which was like the original blonde bombshell of cinema, who died very tragically when she was very young. And I loved her movies. I loved all Hollywood. I watched a lot of Marlene Dietrich, Jean Harlow, Greta Garbo, Rita Hayworth. I was very into very old Hollywood movies because they look like drag queens, and they were just painted for the gods, and they look just so stunning, and their glamour and their costuming, and like this. This was also 2002, 2003. There really wasn't a lot of like glamour with females in cinema back then. This was the apple bottom jeans, like skin and bones, look, straight hair, or that little wispy cut that everybody had.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it was and jeans. It wasn't like I think, like they say in Wong Fu, when a gay man has too much fashion sense for one gender, he is a drag queen. So that's always been my mindset and my liking. So I preferred, watching old Hollywood at that time, and still do.
I still do too. It's like, but the one thing too, like you put on an old Hollywood movie and then I start getting sad about like all the newer ones. I'm like, I want the stories back. Like I want a good script. I'm like, come on.
Oh, and let's not forget Joan. Oh gosh. Oh, going back to my childhood. Oh my God, this is definitely a story. So one moment in my childhood that changed my life was that, it was TNT or TBS. On the weekends, they always had the late night horror movie marathons. But one day, it was either TNT or TBS. They had a double feature, and it was Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was the first, and Mommy Dearest was the second feature. And it was 5 hours of just, that changed my life. And I just remember watching it with my brother, relating to that because, as siblings, we wanted to fucking kill each other.
You wanted to push her down the stairs.
Yes. And the thing was that we were both performers. So we kind of, we were doing these little talent shows. So kind of like we were both trying to one up each other. So there was definitely that connection, um, with that movie. And then, Mommy Dearest, being like, fearful of your parents, but like looking up to them as these like grandiose, because my mom was always glamorous.
Hmm.
And but I think, as a child, you're always so scared of like, what if your parents just like went nutty one day and, or, woke up and, started, wanting to kick your ass with or punish you with that wire hanger, it was just, and then all of a sudden, it has nothing to do with most of those things. It's because, oh, honey, you gay. you're just
Yep.
faking right now. You're the gay one. If you like Baby Jane and Mommy Dearest and they're that age, yeah.
I will say this, I've never thought about that. When I was like in the eighth grade was when we were shown Whatever Happened to Baby Jane in a theater class. And I was gooped, gagged, stunned. I made sure I went to Blockbuster that weekend and re-rented it. And that was like such a big thing. But I was like, my dad thought I was the craziest person in the world, like watching Whatever Happened to Baby Jane multiple times and singing, I've written a letter to daddy. But I was like, well, it's what you get. You have a gay son, sir.
Right. Yes. Yeah. They, my parents knew. They knew. It was all over after the pink convertible. You know.
That it was their fault. They did it themselves.
So, yeah.
So you are performing, you are starting this career. I would love to know, before Drag Race came around and this drag culture phenomenon turned into something else, what was it like performing locally? Like, what was a typical drag show like? Because now it's a totally different world, but when you were starting out and before Drag Race, what was that like?
I would say we definitely were not valued as much as we are now. And what I mean by value is that back then, usually, and it still is today, usually the entertainment was the Go-Go Boys and the Queens. Now, back then, you really didn't want to be booked the same night as the Go-Go's because, of course, they were going to take center stage and definitely be put in better dressing rooms and make more money and get, have, they were more valued. So back then we weren't as valued like that. We were changing in, dirty bathrooms and alleyways. I can tell I remember when me and Delta Work used to be changing in back parking lots for shows. Yeah. And, now, it's nowadays it's just, we're changing in these amazing dressing rooms and, we have some girls are that bougie enough to order only red M&Ms on their riders and Cristal champagne but back then it was a pain in the ass to even ask for a fucking drink ticket back then. We were definitely not valued as much as we are now. There was three big drag shows and events that took place back then. One of them was, of course, Lacage. And Lacage is in Vegas, and if you were a queen back then, you wanted to be an impersonator because if you were an impersonator, you got to work in Vegas, you got to work every single day, and you got to make money, you got to have a full-time career. So that's what a lot of people were trying to aspire to be, including me. And then the second show was the Dream Girls Review, which I became a part of the cast in at the age of 21. I was in the cast between 2006 to 2013. Wow. And then, and that was the longest running drag review in Southern California. That was run by Chad Michaels, and mostly all the people you've seen on Drag Race were a part of that cast. And then the third one was called Drag Idol. And this was in buttfuck San Bernardino, California, which is about 45 minutes away from LA, but all the superstars of Drag Race came from that show. And Raven, Mayhem, Morgan, Jasmine Masters, me, Derek Barry, several others. But, the thing about the name of the owner and promoter, his name was DJ West, and he knew he had stars. He knew he had a hit on his hand, and I think he knew that something was going to come out of all of us. We were destined to be. Even he said it to me once. He said, "You're too big for my stage," and I think not only he said that to me, but to everybody else. But he was right. He knew that we were destined to be these amazing superstars. And that was another thing that was different. There was no drag superstar. There was no celebrity drag queen. And I mean, nowadays, we can't even take a shit and it's on fucking Reddit. I mean, change now. But back then we definitely weren't valued as celebrities, nor as, pretty much entertainers. We had our audience, but it wasn't the audience that we have now, the worldwide audience we have now.
Yeah. And what about actually when it came down to gigs and stuff? Could you actually make a living as a drag queen back then? Was it possible to do, or was it harder to do? Were there any queens that did that just full time altogether?
This has been my full-time job since I was 21 years old. So,
yes, that is crazy.
Well, the thing was back then, also what was different is not everybody wanted to be a drag queen. The fearless and talented, quote unquote talented, did it. And there was a lot more shows back then, but also I would say it wasn't as saturated as it was today. There was no drag queens on every freaking corner on Grindr, and it wasn't so saturated like how it is now. There was people who did drag, and there was actually the people who actually did drag for a living. So there was basically those two types of there were those two types of queens back then. The ones that actually did it for a living, and the ones who just did competitions. So I was one of the lucky ones who actually had my own show that I worked every single weekend, hosted, produced. I got to be with the Dream Girls Review, and there really wasn't a lot of traveling back then, but out of state. But there was so many shows during the week in California, so I was doing all these shows all over Southern California in my 1997 Saturn. I missed that car, by the way. Going from LA, Palm Springs, San Diego, Riverside, Ventura County. And then also back then, it was such an honor and just a really big deal if you were on television and drag. So I was 20 years old, and I was on Ricki Lake. I was on the last season of Ricki Lake.
The material girl herself, Madonna. Our Madonna wannabes will be performing her classic, Like a Virgin. Let's meet the first queen in this category and take a look at her transformation, Venus D-Lite.
When this Madonna gets into the groove, I am unstoppable. I am the one and only queen of pop. Now give me my crown.
Being on that show was such a huge deal, and that did get you many bookings, many, much more auditions and much more film work. So, back then, if you were on a television show or even did film in drag, it was a big deal because it wasn't as saturated as it is now. So, but yeah, that was you did have the chance, but you did have to really work a little harder to make a name for yourself.
Whoa! Well done, Venus. Now, how did you get your start doing Madonna?
Well, sweetie pie, I started off as Marilyn Monroe, and then one night there was a Madonna contest, and so I entered it, and honey, I got more attention than the rest of the contestants, and from there on I said, you know what, I stole the show that night, and I'm gonna steal the show from there on.
And today, I would imagine too. Wow.
Well, let me ask you too, because back then and back before the whole Drag Race phenomenon, I've seen recently in the past probably 5 years that drag aesthetics have kind of changed into the way of Strictly by RuPaul's Drag Race show standards. So if somebody sees an Aquaria or somebody sees, any of these newer queens on, like a Trixie or something, they may think, hey, like, that's what drag is. I'm going to do that then. What was your inspiration before you had seen the television of drag? Like, where were you pulling that from?
I was pulling it, well, what made me want to do drag was the movie Cabaret. And Sally Bowles' character of just, waking up with a hangover, dashing around all day, being a slut by day, showgirl at night, really hoping for that next big break, but, still, being stage ready by the time you got to go on stage. Like that was, I just saw that movie and I was just so inspired of, being on stage and being different, in the movie, she's very extravagant. She wears this blue eyeshadow. She has this very, standoutish, bob cut with a little V right there and very outspoken. So that was really what inspired me to be a stage entertainer. And then Madonna was just this person that I just related to emotional and artistically about standing up for yourself, being proud to be gay, being in people, pushing people's buttons and wearing comb bras and being flirtatious and sexual. So those are my inspirations. And drag wise, I was actually very inspired by Divine.
Yes.
And it just goes back to, like being that I don't know, drag to me is rebellion. Mm-hmm. It's punk. And that's Madonna. Madonna's punk. So is Divine. That's punk. I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to, I definitely watched a lot of RuPaul's old talk show when she kissed Dennis Rodman. She brought Diana Ross on all the time. I was watching that during the 90s. I couldn't say I connected with her the most. It's only because I didn't feel like I was that model glamour girl. I didn't want to be that. That wasn't something that I wanted to be. I wanted to be that kind of punk, rebellious, outspoken, crazy drag queen. Yes, so that was.
Well, you just said his name, so I do have to ask you. The year ends up being, I guess it was 2010 because the show aired in 2011, and you end up on RuPaul's Drag Race season 3. And I had talked to, other queens from season 1 and 2, and I was chatting with, Pork Chop and stuff, and she said that she was approached to be on the show. Did you audition or were you approached?
We all the Dream Girls were approached at a show one night because RuPaul and World of Wonder used to go see the Dream Girls were doing West Hollywood at Rage all the time, and we were approached. We all declined.
Really?
We all declined, yes. And the reason we all declined, because like I said, and you brought this up too, drag was different back then. Mm-hmm. We didn't have drag celebrities. We didn't have a really honest movie or television show really talking about who we are as artists, who we are as queer artists, and behind the scenes and everything. There wasn't that back then. And the TV shows and the movies that we had been on mocked us. They mocked drag. It was considered a joke. And so, we all just thought, Delta had just done a TV show on TLC where her and some other girls were made up, and it was a big disaster. So that had just passed. And so they come up right after Delta just had this incident. So all of us kind of like thought it's just going to be the same thing, or even not even aired. We didn't think it was going to be this, big pop culture explosion. And also, we were busy girls back then. I was doing 10 to 11 to 12 shows back to back to back, and that was life. And I remember days when, like the razor blade was just cutting my skin because it was just so much shaving. But yeah, we were approached back then and we all declined.
So then what made the change?
What made the change was, the show aired, it became a hit, and we were all like, all taken back by it. So was I. And, um, but I mean, me personally, I really think that World of Wonder and Rue were a little like upset with us, kind of held a little bit of a grudge against us because, from what, during that time, Chad Michaels had told me like, hey, World of Wonder has said this and this about you. And they're kind of like peeking like, Venus needs us now. So, I think they were upset, at me and Delta and Chad and other people who declined. But also, it wasn't just the Dreamgirls review that declined. It was a lot of people that declined season 1. So like season 1 comes out, there's Tammy Brown, there's Angina, and me, Tammy, and Angina, we were at the underground discos in LA, partying with World of Wonder and Santino. So we all knew each other, and so that's a lot of the season 1 was. They were reaching out to people who they knew, but they didn't. I guess they didn't expect that we were going to decline.
Well, there you go. Hey, Venus, how is it going?
It's good. I just took a little bathroom break, dusted myself off, powdered myself off. Got rid of the beard, got rid of the boy.
Well, where we left off, we were chatting about your coming onto the stage of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 3. I do want to ask you, what was your experience like on set? Because I know it was an earlier season. I know I've heard it from Season 4 girls, Latrice and Chad and Willem and everybody about how the production was so much different back then. What was your experience like?
Well, I made it clear that I did not have the best experience there. Going back, rewind to during the audition process. Mm-hmm. Now, I had auditioned for season 2. I didn't get it, and then season 3 comes around. They had told me to make another audition video. They said, take your time. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me get all creative with it. I made this video. It took me two weeks to make. They called me. They said I'm in the top 20, sit tight. And then a couple weeks go by, and they asked me one question, like, what's your dress size? Okay, click. Oh, okay. And then a month later passes by. What's your shoe size? Okay, click. Bye. So I'm like, okay, well, it's March, filming's July, so this is kind of like, this is like interesting suspense right here. What's going on? Am I on it? Am I not? What's up? And then, they had scheduled, they called me again. They said I made it, but we have to schedule a psychiatric evaluation and everything. And also we need to schedule an interview with our producer. So the interview came around, and they asked me everything about, my drag history, my style, how did I start? And, all the basic stuff they wanted to know. And then, but, I have this intuition that like, when I just feel like something's a little off, it tends to like go boop, 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 boop. And so the producer asked me this question that just totally made it go off. She asked me, well, what are you afraid of? And my spidey sense just like, just was telling me, don't answer the question. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of brushing her off. I'm like, like saying, oh, I'm not afraid of anything. And, I'm a pretty good, competitor. I've got a tough skin, total lies and bullshit. But I was just, I wasn't comfortable with telling her what I was afraid of. Just was not at the time. And so she kept digging. She's like, well, what about spiders? What about roller coasters? And I'm like, damn, this bitch is going in. No, I just squash spiders. I ride roller coasters all day. I got this. Come on, bring it on. I got this. And I could tell she was getting a little frustrated. So then she asked me, well, what was it about season 2 that really pissed off the girls? And without a pause, they just said, well, that's easy. Bringing Shangela on the show. Total tone change. And she's like, oh, really? Well, why do you ever say that? And I was just answering her question because, I'm brutally honest. And so I just said, well, you brought a drag, beginner 6 months into it versus, Chad Michaels, Lady Bunny, Sherry Vine, Jackie Beach. It's been done it for fucking centuries. And it did, it did kind of like stir the pot and create, piss off a lot of girls. So then I go, I get onto the film set, and let me tell you, I mean, the first 2 days, basically I was starving. I was not even fed because they had told me that, hey, we're going to call you at a certain time to show up at LAX with all your shit. And and we'll meet you there. So this day I waited. And I'm being like Carrie Whitesman from the movie Carrie. I'm like, they're not going to call. I'm just going back and forth. Finally, they did call. So I get all my stuff and I rushed to LAX. And, I lived in the area. I lived in LA, so I didn't have to go through the whole like 5-bag rule and everything. So I literally bought a whole freaking van of shit. And they're looking at me like, holy fuck. Like, I mean, this, this bitch brought a fucking fashion show and then some. So they went through all my stuff and everything. And then by the time they were done, they checked me in. It was about midnight. I had not eaten all day. So, and I was nervous and I couldn't sleep because I was nervous and hungry. So I was literally eating Alka-Seltzer because that was all in my bag to like fill my stomach up because I was starving and I was nervous and everything. So the little pamphlet that they gave me that said, at this time we're going to pick you up. There's going to be lunch, and we're going to do this and this and this. So it said they were going to pick me up at 9 a.m. and there'll be breakfast ready at the set. So they called me at 8 as I'm getting ready saying, we've moved your interview to 3. So I wait, still eating the Alka-Seltzer, and because they lock you in a room. And so then I finally get picked up. I go over there and there's the first thing I ask for is food. And they're like, oh, we don't have any food. I'm like, well, your pamphlet said that you guys had food. They're like, well, we can get you a banana. I'm like, okay. So they give me a banana. They do this whole 4-hour long interview. And then they get into like background, psychological stuff and like dark events that like haunt you, stuff like that. And then still no food. And it was already like 8 or 9 o'clock. We were done. So we're going back to the hotel. And as I'm walking by, you know how people leave like their leftover food?
Yeah.
Outside in front that they didn't finish. So as we're walking to my hotel room, I'm with the PA and I grabbed a plate of toast. And the PA is like, what are you doing? And I just looked at him and I said, I'm fucking starving. I'm taking this piece of toast. You guys promised me food. I have no food. You guys just can't starve me. I'm taking this fucking toast with me to eat it. Do you have a problem with it? And he's like, fine, I'll get you a pizza. Okay, I'm like, well, fine then. Yeah, total attitude and everything. So by the time, I got on set, definitely, starving in my emotions, bothered as fuck, get on the set. And all of a sudden there comes that fucking, little present. And I'm thinking, oh, goody, Grace Jones, Barbara Streisand, Madonna, yay, little prize. And who the fuck pops out? Oh, fucking hallelujah, Miss Thang herself. And then Ru announces, oh, she's recompeting. And I'm like, hold up. I'm already hot and bothered as it is.
Mm-hmm.
I smell bullshit. I call shenanigans. And I'm calling a stunt. So, me being the brutally honest bitch, I'm like, oh, let's get back on. I sent an audition tape, and I'm like, no, bitch, you can't lie for shit. Sorry. Over it. So, and it was very clear she had star treatment. Mm-hmm. She was able to leave set during the costume construction, which none of us were able to do. And, she literally spent 2 hours on her outfit and left set. And all of us were, hanging in there till the last minute to get our presentations ready and everything. And then I get, then all of a sudden I'm in the bottom 2. And that's just when it all hit me. I'm like, you know, I knew my spidey sense was tingling there for a reason, you know. And sure enough, you know, what I told them definitely was used as in a storyline, you know, and make great TV. And you know, they knew it was hot and bothered because you know it was um, stressed out, hungry, and you know, does that make for
Mhm.
great TV? Yeah, it does make for great for TV. However, I had already been doing drag full time for about 9 years. So I was so used to doing it locally, you know, go hang, you know, kiki with the people who watch the show, go home, spend all week, you know, performing or being creative and making stuff. I wasn't used to having like this public spotlight or accessibility to the public. So as I look back at it now, I could not handle public humiliation like that.
Mm.
It did break me. It did tear me apart. So um, I wasn't um, prepared to handle something like that. So it was not the best experience, unfortunately.
No, and I mean, I like absolutely hate that. And like when I hear girls like talk about like the days of like that, like you know, not getting food and things like that, it's just like so frustrating. Sure, may it add a little bit of extra to TV, but it's still the treatment of an actual human being where it comes down to it. Was there any challenges or anything that you know, even like looking at the show or like that you were prepared for that you were excited to showcase?
I was definitely excited about the drag queens in space, and um, you know, I don't know. Maybe they got that idea from my little audition video because I sent my audition video, then I posted it online very shortly after, and just a fun idea that I put in was a sci-fi trailer, and it was called Disco Bimbos from Outer Space.
If you like non-stop action, space-age thrills, blonde bombshells, and a lot of disco music, then you don't want to miss Disco Bimbos from Outer Space, starring Venus D-Lite. Action, suspense, thrills, chills. You can't get enough action without Disco Bimbos from Outer Space. Rated R.
I heard there was going to be a sci-fi challenge, and so I made this sci-fi outfit. But then I heard it was actually for a sci-fi trailer. I'm like, God damn it! I would have knocked
Yeah.
that out of the park. So, you know, because I mean, I grew up. I'm still such a, you know, fan of B horror sci-fi movies, and you know, I like more the older generation than like the Asylum movies they make now with the really bad like
Yeah.
CGI effects and stuff.
I have some fan questions for you that we are just gonna throw in the mix as we're talking about your time on Drag Race.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, here it comes. Somebody said, I heard that the fight between Mimi and Shangela and the Sugar Daddy story was started by you. Are you the one who planted that?
Boo, just because you got a sugar daddy who pays for everything for you. Oh.
Where did this bitch hear that I had a sugar daddy?
I don't have a sugar daddy. I've never had a sugar daddy. If I wanted a sugar daddy, yes, I probably could go out and get one because I am what? Sickening.
Guilty as charged.
Oh! How did that happen?
Because we had finished filming season 1, and then we had to do the promos right after. So I'm being the greatest actress I possibly can be, even though I wanted to like, you know, set the place on fire like Carrie. And you know, so we had to do the promos, and then it was me, Mimi, I believe Stacy and Alex. It was a couple of us. And we were filming the promos, and then all of a sudden Mimi found this like room, and she like closed the door, she locked it, and she was just like, hey, you know, Venus, what the fuck is going on here? Why are you kicked off? And this doesn't make any sense. So they were like, why is Shangela getting this like dark treatment, it seems? And I was like, I nonchalantly said, well, I don't know, word on the street is that she has a sugar daddy. And I I had me and Shangela had a mutual friend who used to do her hair and makeup when she first arrived in LA, and my friend was the one who told me this. And so I had mentioned it. I didn't think Mimi was going to take it to the camera. So, it was 7 months later, and I see that episode. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my gosh. And so, yes, I'm the one who said, I mean, it should have been me saying it, instead of
Yes.
me. Definitely, I mean, it took years for me to get the credit for it. But I mean, yeah, I did. I'm the one who said it. And, I mean, the thing is, I'm not the only one who's noticed, Shangela's value or spotlight on that show, but I've noticed that anybody who calls it out, me, Georgie Thor, Shaz and Masters, all the queens from All Stars 3, that's why she didn't win. So, I've noticed that, if anybody has anything, in her way, they do get pushed aside. So,
When your big thing is that you are a Madonna impersonator, would you have impersonated Madonna for Snatch Game?
I was planning to, yeah, but if never say never, I wouldn't do it if I was offered it.
So you would never go back to an All Stars.
I'll get to that. I wouldn't do Madonna on Snatch Game. No, I think I definitely I definitely have a very comedic side to me, and I definitely have other characters that would so fit in for Snatch Game, and it'd make me more excited to do it.
So, another fan question that came in was, I would like to know if you feel like the Drag Race franchise treated you rudely in terms of editing, and how did you feel about the infamous sad elf moment from Santino Rice?
As far as the edit, well, here was the thing. I got on the show with the advice of Morgan McMichael was to be a bitch on the show. And the thing is with me, I sometimes take direction or advice a little too intensely. So I do feel I did get the bitch edit, the bully edit, which is definitely not the type of person I am. The edit, the thing with my outfit was, it was a theme for it. It was Christmas in July. So, because a lot of drag queens do Christmas in July for shows. So that's why it was very, it wasn't too drag-ish. It was kind of very, very summery and, hey, hot girl on a hot date, Christmas in July. That was the theme. So I think that if they would have kept like my idea for the theme in, I think it would have made more sense to everybody. I don't think I had the worst outfit. No, I don't think I did. I would definitely have, I'm sorry, but freaking Derek Barry's Tin Man outfit, Tin Girl outfit, what the fuck,
Oh my gosh.
My outfit looked like Versace compared to that. So, I mean, I don't feel that bad about the outfit. I don't think it was the worst, and I don't think it was the best. I would love for it. I definitely would have liked for them to kept the theme of it and the whole, or at least more of the lip sync.
And then what about the Santino Rice comment?
Girl, honey, I've seen you look. I used to see him look way more tragic at the fucking discos we used to hang out with. Trash, girl. I mean, she could talk all the shit she wants to talk about me, but I mean, I was there. We all hung out, girl. I mean, it didn't bother me because I'm like, I've seen you fucking, trash out of it at the fucking downtown LA shows. Don't go there with me, girl. You said, I mean, well, you sad fashion ingenue, whatever you want to call it.
Is he still around? All I see is all of these posts on Twitter, but I'm like, are you okay? Are you Lucian Pianing me now? Like,
I don't know, girl. Here's the thing. Like, there's so many of us that go through the Hollywood system, and then all of a sudden I don't know, if either we lose ourselves or something, we go on this magical spiritual adventure where, we got to post about crystals and healing quotes and Buddha this, Buddha that, Hare Krishna. I don't know. It seems like that's the direct. I mean, last time I saw him, he looked like he joined the Hare Krishna movement. So I mean, I don't know. So is he finding himself? Is he finding God? Is he trying to find his so-called career? I don't know. Maybe. So,
You get off the show, and this is the third season, so I would love to know, like, watching yourself on the show, and then afterwards, like, what was it like working after the show?
Now, here's the thing. I'm going to take this in a couple of directions. I hope you're ready. Fasten your seatbelt. So, I really, in my opinion, I see myself as the actual first one gone, because Pork Chop, got, definitely, got, a stance with, being the first one gone off the first season. So she definitely did get a welcoming stance with everybody else. And then Shangela gets brought back on the show. And then I get kicked off, and it was at a time when, like, nobody wanted to be kicked off of the show. And this was for like season 3, season 4, 5, 6. And it wasn't until season 7 when fucking a baby came out of Tempest de Jour's 50 that all of a sudden it flipped around for all of us, where all of a sudden we had this cult following, like, all this respect and like love came for the first one's gone. And then when there was request for, like, World of Wonder to do a first one's gone season, there's been fan pages for us. There's a freaking Reddit page with 35,000 members that has me on their header. And so it was different back then. I would say it's different. It was different as far as, like, respect wise. So you definitely, if you were first one gone, unless you had good management, you were not making anywhere near to what the girls and, like, let's say fan favorites or top 5 or the winner was going to be offered. Now it's different because, now, and for me, a lot more different because I'm a seasoned legend, and it's taken a while, but it's definitely different now. And after getting off the show, I had right before the show, we filmed the show, I was going through quite a bit of my personal life. And I was in a relationship I had been in since I was 17 years old. And we both had some really bad addictions that we were struggling with. And also, like, by the time Drag Race came on, I was kind of like wanting to explore myself outside of Madonna, because that's really all I did was Madonna every day, hours and hours of studying and having her on my play in the background or on a video or something. It was just so much of trying to be somebody else than versus me. So I was really getting sick of performing and being somebody else. So when I did do Drag Race, I did see that it did give me the opportunity to go, on many adventures and see the world and try to find myself at the same time. So I took that opportunity and, got out of my 11-year relationship. And the thing about I really think I do truly feel that it is important to have those kind of adventures in your life, but I also think you need order and structure and stability in order to keep going as an artist. And I've been everywhere. I partied with everybody, and but there was a very long time I wasn't happy. I was not happy. I wasn't, and also, what made it worse was I was holding, I was holding me telling what had happened to me on Drag Race, because I was afraid, like, oh, what if they're gonna sue me, or tell lies about me, or call me a liar. Like, it wasn't a time to, like, speak up about it. But now that there's been, like, similar, like, experiences with girls who've had bad experiences, and now more people have talked about it, I finally, like, 4 years ago, told my story. And started to let go of what happened on the show
Yeah.
and not, not be thinking about that.
I'm glad that you were able to kind of like spill and tell and just like kind of get back into your own. I think that that is like the worst part about this entertainment industry is that like you feel like you're always stepping on like eggshells and you can't say something because it might affect you, or you can't do this because that might be, you know, a side effect or whatever that's coming like that. So those years from, you know, season 3 to now, what would you say has been your career trajectory? Because you're no longer in California, right?
No, after Drag Race, I was just, I didn't see any want for them to like include me in projects like Drag You or any spin-off projects. So, I'm old school. It's like, hey, if one show doesn't work out, what do you go do? You go to another show and go try out for them. And that's what I did. And I did some television. I did some I did some spots that were very like, people were like, why are you doing this? Like, and even I was asking myself, why the fuck am I doing this? But at that time, I wanted to keep working. I wanted to keep working. I wanted to continue touring. So I went on Botched and was the first Drag Race girl on Botched. So I started that movement. I was on Strange Addiction and everybody saw Strange Addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually, I would say of all television, that's the show that changed my career.
Really?
And yes.
You love being Madonna.
Yes,
Would you say that you are Madonna?
I am Madonna. But I want to be Adam.
Because actually, I was planning to quit drag as we were filming. And so we filmed it and then kind of just like cut to a black screen, say I sold everything. And like all of a sudden, the next day, all the media calls and asked me like, well, are you really quitting? What's up? Please don't quit. Be on our television show, fly here, fly there. We want you to do all these shows. So it was definitely a scandalous, Elizabeth Taylor, Zsa Zsa Gabor moment where I got on television and said like, I'm quitting drag and I'm on this special show that's has a reputation. So, it was, and then a year after the show aired, I got, all of a sudden it flipped on me again. I got all this fan mail and people said that they watched it and, they definitely identified with me as far as like, I was doing something that wasn't hurting anybody and wasn't, hurting myself. And, but it's hard when you don't have supportive husbands or family, mothers, and so people did identify with it. And so I did receive a lot of fan mail and, but that really that got me so much visibility by everybody. And so that's the show that definitely changed everything for me.
I love your trajectory and I love seeing like how far you've come and how mature you are too. Like you were represented one way on a TV show and then like completely like my mind has completely changed from where it was season 3 to now. Like I'm so enjoying the whole conversation that I'm having with you because I'm like my eyes are being opened as all this is like going on. Have you ever felt that after your time on the show, it painted you in a totally different light? Or did you ever experience any negative side effects from that?
It did label me as the bully. Mm-hmm. It did label me as the Madonna. One definitely was beneficial. One other one was not. Madonna was, the Madonna label, it was what I wanted. I really wanted at the time, because I had said back then, like all of us, when I started, wanted to be impersonators and we wanted to be the best at it. Chad was such a huge inspiration for me. So I wanted that title. I wanted that label. Mm-hmm. I got what I wanted. And that's why I've been able to keep working all these years later and not, not fall into a depression hole in my 1984 Cadillac like my Nellie Crawford. I don't, sitting at the bar watching, after that year, it's, you don't know where your life's going to go. And,
Yeah.
but me, I had the Madonna title. So she's a huge gay icon and pop culture icon. So it did help me to continue to keep working, plus, the other television shows. And so, I was labeled a bully, and I'm not a bully. I never have been. And, I was just bullied by somebody. He was just on All Stars, and I'm sure that's going to be the topic that everybody wants to hear about. And so,
Oh, are you talking about Miss Jiggly Caliente?
yes.
So let's get into it. It was the next question, so why not? Sharon Needles put up an Instagram post where she congratulated Jiggly on being on All Star 6. You responded you responded with meh. And then it looked like it was a back and forth in the comments about new teeth and San Tropez. What is the full story behind all of this?
Okay. Well, children, here we go. Rewind back to 2013. Now, this was 2 years after Drag Race. Like I said, I had suffered a lot of depression, and I was around a lot of toxic people, and letting go of my drag, didn't care about it. I got really, really heavy into drug use, and I had to step away. I had to move away to New York City to get away from the drug use. So I moved to New York City, and as when you've been on a 2-year drug binge, it takes a hot minute for your mind to get back to normal, and your emotions to settle down and stop being so rattled up. So, I was just doing all these things out of desperation at that time. And one of them was I actually did do some escorting. I actually did do some sex work. Most of it I did in drag. And not as Madonna. I would never sleep with anybody. So I did get myself involved with that in New York City at the time that I was staying there. And this is right when Bianca's season had just come out. She was still hosting her shows and viewing parties. So I had went back to California. My film Strange Addiction comes out, and all of a sudden, my whole year's booked up with shows and a tour. And so I had my first stop on the tour was at the Jim Henson studio, and I was in full Madonna beat, ponytail, everything, and I was with my manager. It was an amazing show. And so it was an early show too. So we decided to go in West Hollywood. We decided to go to West Hollywood, have some drinks, and bear with me. I might get a little emotional telling the story because I've never told it to the public. We were at the Abbey having the time of our life, and I was, feeling my buzz. I walked past this HIV testing van, and I'm like, hey, I'm buzzed as fuck. I'm like, let's go get tested. And there was a whole line in front of me, and they saw me, they got excited, so they excused me and let me go ahead of them. And so I went to the van, thinking nothing of it. And they told me I was positive. And I didn't know how to react. I knew I had all these people outside waiting. And I took a minute to gather myself and went out there and lied, I, was, used to putting on a show. And so I just lied and I said that, nothing, fine. I'm holding my paper for dear life and nobody steals it from me. I told my manager we need to go back to the car. And I told him what happened. We were both in shock, didn't believe it. He told me to go get retested, which I did. I went retested, it still came out positive. And so they had given me all this information and phone numbers to reach out for the state help. And my blood results came in, and I was basically 2 white blood cells away from AIDS level.
Oh my goodness.
So, they immediately put me on medication, and I was, of course, my level started going down, and was starting to get better, but it really wasn't the status that you really got deeply depressed about. I was fine with it. I've been gay since I was 15 years old, so it always came up as a thought, like, what if this did happen? And I had really prepared myself just in case it happened. But I was on tour. I was taking my medication, and I was gaining weight, and I didn't know why. And I started gaining a lot of weight and a lot of weight and a lot of weight. And after my tour, I come back home, and all my costumes don't fit. All my costumes I had spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on, they just didn't fit one day. So I always felt that there was something about my condition that was making me gain weight. There was something.
Mm-hmm.
I kept asking the doctors about it, and they wouldn't give me a clear answer as to why I was gaining weight. I said, this isn't normal. Like, this is not just a little weight. This is 35, 40 pounds that just out of nowhere, and I mean, I've been, I've always ate late all my life, so I don't know what's going on. So, I couldn't fit all my costumes, so I decided to join a Palm Springs show where I only had to do the same act for 3 days out of the weekend, every single weekend. And it was a little bit of breath of relief, because I couldn't fit everything, and I was like, I didn't even know if I could afford buying all that shit again. So during this time in my life, I was being fat shamed. I was called Fat Madonna. I was being harassed by the director and the producer of the show. Girls on tour would make fun of me, and finally, years later, I met up with Cynthia Lee Fontaine, and she works for HIV/AIDS clinic. And she told me, and she asked, and I told her my story, and she said, well, what medication have you been taking? And I told her, and she said, Mommy, that has steroids in it.
Fuck. So that was the weight gain.
That was the weight gain, yes. And, I couldn't tell anybody what was going on with me or why I was gaining weight. People just assumed, like, oh, she's drinking too much again. But I did, I stopped the drugs, but then I just went to drinking because I was so depressed with the weight gain. And, everything I had worked so hard for and to gain a certain title, all of a sudden just, my costume just busted on me. And I couldn't do what I loved to do and what I had known, what was my life since I was 19 years old. And then, right before the pandemic hit, they actually changed my medication to a newer medication that doesn't have steroids. And if y'all need receipts, here's receipts. And, they said I wouldn't be on steroids anymore. So that's why I got the lipo, because I just didn't want to be reminded of it every single day. And I wanted to move forward in my life. So, and I would say, I say, yeah, it's been a lot of husbands, and I say love life because, you know, I had one husband who didn't want to sleep with me. You know, he would suggest for us to have threesomes, but he would get off and, you know, make an excuse to like, not want to sleep with me because he'd think like, oh, you know, both parties are satisfied this way. Why do we have to? Why do we need to sleep with each other? You know, I had, guys, flip out on me, like I told them, and I got naked next to them. Um, I had one husband who even had it, and I thought, okay, well, this will make things easier, and it sure as hell didn't. And, um, and then as after all that's passed, I didn't need the surgery. What I needed to do was just to really change how I felt about myself. I looked in the mirror and um, realized that that's just not the only part of me. And um, and so there's 179 contestants on this show, and only 2 have come out with their status. So I guess that makes me the third lucky 3. But I do feel like there needs to be more role models to come out of the show and to talk about this. And I feel there's been way too much bullying come out of the show. I feel that there's been too much advocacy for bullying and saying it's all right. And there's been toxicity between the girls. And, I did get my condition from my escorting and my sex work, and in New York City. So, I had just been diagnosed. Bianca was the winner, and Jiggly shares with Bianca an old escorting ad of me as a guy. I had never did nothing with that ad, and Bianca goes and posts it on Instagram, calling me like, trashy, look at this trash, $600 for an alcohol. Thanks, Jiggly Caliente, for sharing this info with me. And so Bianca took it off. I've never gotten an apology from either one of them. I'm not expecting to get one. But, Jiggly being a former sex worker, I think it was very low to do that to a sister, to put somebody's business out like that when from personal experience what it's like. That a lot of the gay LGBTQ community is involved in sex work and escorting. There's HIV involved in it. There's drug use involved in it. It's not a pretty picture, no matter how you paint it. Mm-hmm. So, and I was put on blast, and I wasn't in the best, state in my life.
Yeah.
I just think that was a very low blow. And, on Sharon's page, I made a comment about a disinterested comment. It wasn't a read. It wasn't bullying. She doesn't interest me as a person, but because of what she did. So, and I don't think she's changed much since season 4, and here's the thing, like, I never did anything to Jiggly or Bianca. And so that, I hung out with Bianca a couple of times while she was hosting her viewing parties. I hung out with Jiggly on a drag race cruise. We sat at the table together, made some jokes. So I don't know where all this like anger and jealousy and hatred comes from. So, but, I think you did ask me about would I want to be back on All Stars. I really don't have an interest right now because I just, I've seen too many. I would love to see more mentors come out of this show, and I haven't seen enough of that. And I've already been labeled a bully. I'm not a bully, and I want, I've always, that's another reason why I did other television shows, is because I wanted people to really see who I was, and didn't always get that. But, I don't need a television show to show who I really am. I can tell story myself.
Yeah. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that, like, I'm glad that you have shared. I'm glad that you got this off your chest. I know that this is probably the most emotional thing for anybody to do. I love you, I respect you, and I thank you for saying it, because at the end of the day, you saying this will help so many more people. We have such a stigma in our community about HIV and AIDS, and it's the most disgusting thing in the world. And people, like you said, people don't want to date or have sex or do whatever, and it will make you feel like a piece of shit, and it would make you feel like you aren't worthy. You are worthy. And I would love for you to take this moment after this to maybe just give a little insight and wisdom into, like, you know, you equals you, and like all of that, like, is just like maybe just some basic little facts that the people who aren't educated, maybe that they need to know. Because I think that education is the best way to help build the community.
Right. And, you know, with this long journey, I bet other people that went through the same thing that I did, that, you know, the medication made them gain weight. They stopped performing because of it. You know, love issues. And, you know, it's all about education. You know, there is medication now out there that is actually free from the state that, you know, will make you undetectable, untransmittable, to where you can't, you know, give it to somebody. You can live a really normal life. And still continue to be you, and not, you know, not let this be just a main part of you. And you deserve to be happy. You don't deserve to be depressed. And I am planning to do more activism on my part and awareness about it. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. But I wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. And I just also I realized, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, you're HIV positive and you're being with somebody who's HIV positive or not. It just matters if they're an asshole or not, you know.
Exactly.
If you know, if they're not educated, don't fucking deal with them.
Yeah.
You know. And so and you know, I definitely have a lot more insight that I would love to share. And also, you know, I'm actually in a relationship right now that's a lot more healthier and knows my status. And he's actually here. Want to meet him?
Yeah, bring him over.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I will ask a question to you because I do want to know. Obviously, you know, Venus is saying one side of the thing of, like, basically, like, other people can be so rude or, like, uneducated about things or treat somebody a certain way. You, on the other hand, from what I am gathering, are not that way. What is the importance of making somebody else understand that they are okay? Like, what's the importance of being able to be like, you know what? I'm going to research and I'm going to educate myself because I love you for who you are as a person.
So one of the biggest things actually growing up, I have 3 female family members, and, you know, growing up Catholic, Roman Catholic, they told us that only gay men could get it. I had 3 females who were heterosexual, who had it as well, who all 3 passed from, you know, and I learned about the medication because one of my family members was switching to a better one, which unfortunately didn't do it justice at the time. But it's all about communication, research, and respect. Because, you know, that doesn't make Venus less of a person if, you know, she has it, or it doesn't make me, you know, better of a person if I don't have it. No, love is love. And at the end of the day, we need to love and respect each other, and we need to educate each other in this community. Because I have seen and heard, especially right now in the music industry, it's just one thing that's grinding my gears is like, what does it matter? You know, status or no status, that shouldn't even be the first fucking thing, you know, gung ho to know about somebody. You should be wanting to know, oh, their personality, or what do you like to do, you know?
Exactly. I think I don't know, like when I meet people in our community who just radiate knowledge and radiate wanting to learn more, and it can be the scariest thing, you know, to realize that. I'm sure you probably shit yourself. I'm sure you probably are like, what in the world is going on? But I will say that the years that it took you to realize this, I'm very glad that you realize that you are a worthy person. You have somebody by your side right now who, you know, loves you, respects you, and literally not everybody's going to do that. And what that says right there is that this man by your side is literally there for you. You know, there's no other reason, qualm, or whatever. It's the soul, the spirit, the love that you guys have for each other. And that's very, very, very inspiring. And I'm glad that you have been able to, you know, have that in your life. You know, you've gone through ups and downs, as we discussed. You've had, you know, houses that, like you said, like, you know, husbands and all this stuff. But finding that one must feel great. I don't want you to leave because I have 2 more questions for Venus, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the first one to you and the last one to Venus. I would like to know, what do you think the biggest misconception of Venus is?
I do wish that people would see that there is more to Venus than RuPaul's Drag Race and Madonna. Because Venus is fucking sickening at the end of the day.
Yes.
And I will stand by my man, and I will stand by him strong. And I will say that till the day I die.
As you should, because Mr. Sexy Man, when all that makeup and everything came off, I mean, starting the interview, come on now. Venus, my last question for you is, what is next for you? What's coming down the pipeline this year? I know you just moved, and like, what's going down?
You know, I had been wanting to get this knot off my chest for a while because I just felt I couldn't progress until I had done it, because I've always had I've always been attracted to outspoken divas like Madonna, and I've always been interested in activism. And that does tie into my life. So I do want to be more of an advocate for HIV awareness, prevention, you know, I don't know, come up with something clever for people to get tested, you know, because it really isn't a big deal. It's worse to not know, because you could be in my situation where you're 2 blood cells away from, you know, AIDS, or, you know, what if you're AIDS level and you don't even know it?
Yeah.
You know, there's ways to prevent that from happening. So you know, there's so much help out there. There's so much love. There's so much guidance. It's not an easy journey, but I mean, your life does not end. So I definitely want to get more into activism. I did get a new body. Scotty picked out this costume for me because he said he likes my booty in it. So.
Yes, booty, 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 booty.
There's definitely like it. I said I wouldn't do All Stars. However, if there was ever a call for a first eliminated queen season, I would be there in part.
Yes.
I would, you know, the future. I do want to keep performing. I do want to do more stuff on YouTube. I do want to put myself out there to a more virtual audience, to a more online audience, because I'm so used to live audience. And you know, it's steady work, and you get paid quite a bit of money, you know. But also, I mean, the future is online, so I do want to put more myself online.
I think you are truly a phenomenal human being. I thank you so much for opening up to me, because I know that getting that off your chest, and then now that that's in the world, is a lot to do. And thank you for using this platform to be able to tell more about yourself. Where can people follow you on the socials?
Socials, you can go to my Instagram account, which is Venus Delight Madonna, and you can also follow me on Facebook, .com/Venus Delight. Where else can you? Like I said, we need to get work on the online stuff. So, and definitely going to get a website going, because that's been in the talk. So,
Yes.
But for right now, keep it simple. The Instagram, the Facebook. my Twitter got hacked, so I don't have Twitter no more.
Ugh.
So, but you know, definitely try those two to reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Venus. Thank you so much, Scotty, for being here. I absolutely love this. Until next time, I'm Joseph Shepard. Be sure to comment down below what you like, subscribe, give that like, go show Venus some love on all of her socials. And until next time, I will see you guys next. Bye.
Arrivederci, mi amores.